CVille Show. It's great to connect with you. Thank you for joining us. We apologize as we're starting a little late this afternoon. Confirm with me when you can, please, when YouTube is up and running, because I'm getting pinged left and right that we are not live on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn, and then once you get YouTube up and running, J-Dubs, take a look at I Love CVille Food, where we have 7,400 followers on that page that I want to be, I Love CVille Food is live now. So YouTube is the only one that's missing. A lot I want to cover on the show today, guys. We got a message over the weekend from a concerned teacher, a concerned let me protect some anonymity here. A Albemarle County Public School employee who works at Monticello High School sent us a message to relay to the viewers and listeners a security concern that's going on at Monticello High School. We're going to talk about that today on the show. I'm going to ask you, are politics and activism swaying and influencing the Charlottesville City Public Schools Teacher Union? An interesting thread on Reddit got me thinking about the head of the teacher union, Shannon Gilligan's comments to the Daily Progress, where she is threatening the University of Virginia, saying, we will not allow your students to log classroom hours at city public schools anymore. And she's doing it as president of the teacher union. And she's gotten a lot of blowback and has kind of entered a firestorm by using her position as the president of the teachers union to threaten UVA over the Federal Executive Institute not going the public schools way. And a lot of folks are asking, as a teacher union, isn't your job to do what's best for students and teachers across the board? And by taking student UVA teachers out of classrooms, that's not what's best for teachers and students at public schools. So I want to unpack that on today's show because I think you're seeing activism and politics sway decision-making within the local teacher union. We'll talk about that today. We need to talk about the honor code at the University of Virginia. The Jefferson Council is doing a really good job of shining a light on this. It is cheating is running apparently so rampant at the University of Virginia that the school did an investigation into cheating, in particular at the Darden School, and found that it was so prolific that they were afraid to release the results for fear of scandal and reputation hit. So the question being asked is, Thomas Jefferson's single sanction honor code purely pomp and circumstance and window dressing, or is it legitimately still an honor code of merit? I want to have that conversation on today's show. We'll talk some housing news. We have a hotel that's being repositioned as multifamily housing, as apartments. That topic on today's show, it's the Red Carpet Inn. And friend of the program, Juandiego Wade, has retired from his work at Albemarle County to focus maybe on his second term on city council, and certainly as he finishes his time at mayor. Remember, Juandiego Wade is running for a spot on council. So a lot to cover on the show. Why don't we go to the studio camera, Judah, and then a two-shot. Of course, we're going to give some love to Charlottesville Sanitary Supply in a matter of moments. But I ask you the same question to start each show. You get me thinking as well. Which headline do you find most intriguing today, and why?
I'm definitely intrigued by the coverage of UVA and the honor code. Obviously, it's a major talking point at the very least for UVA. But I wonder how practical it is in today's world. Is it just is it a throwback to an older time, or is it worth continuing with?
Man, I could never think of UVA without the honor code. And to have a conversation on the show now that not only is the honor code potentially a thing of the past, but it's that cheating is so rampant that an investigation was done by the University of Virginia into what they've heard is rampant cheating, and those results they did not want to release for fear of reputation hit, for fear of scandal and takedown, and for fear that it could impact performance rankings. There's a lot of similarities to the UVA health story, where the investigation into alleged white-collar racketeering, fraudulent billing, upcoding, medical chart changing, that report wasn't released.
Right.
And the initial motive behind that behavior was to preserve rankings and to maintain power. So similarities with DART and what's going on there and UVA Health, we'll have that conversation on today's show. I want to give Charlottesville Sanitary Supply some props. John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, 60 consecutive years in business. It is swimming pool season, and if you need folks to get your pool right, John and Andrew Vermillion on East High Street at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply or online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com are the folks to contact. We've opened our pool at our house, and goodness gracious, the water is as blue as ever, thanks to the fine folks at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. I want to start with a concern that parents sent me over the weekend. They asked for anonymity, and as you know, if you watch the show, if you want to put me on a 1 and make that shot as dynamic as possible, then I'll weave you into it, Judah. One of the ways we get the information we do is when someone asks for anonymity or off-the-record conversation, we honor it. That's how we get a lot of the content that we cover on the show. And the employee from Albemarle County Public Schools, they work at Monticello. They've asked for anonymity, but they're passing on some things that are happening at Monticello High School that this employee says is extremely concerning to teachers and employees within the building, and that the community should know. So this email was sent to me 15 hours ago by concerned folks working inside Monticello. I'm going to read it to you guys verbatim so you guys get a feel with what's going on at one of the larger high schools in Central Virginia. I think Albemarle High School, I believe, is the largest, but Monticello is certainly one of the top 3 or 4 from a size standpoint. It's in Albemarle County Public Schools High School. So here's the email. Then I'll weave you in, Judah. Okay? This is, I want to share with you a concern of a friend who wishes to remain anonymous. I also ask that you not share that it came from me in order to protect their anonymity. Here's what my friend passed on to me intentionally for you, Jerry. Dear Jerry, I am an Albemarle County Public School employee. I work at Monticello High School. I was recently made aware that the school board has approved the termination of 4 of our 6 security officers for the 2026 school year due to the new budget. The school board will also not allow our school to decide how they would like to allocate their staff. I was told this reduction is not specific to our school. However, I do not know enough of the details to speak about the budget. This person continues, I am concerned for our staff and students. The board went to the county supervisors and requested more money while boasting that they are prioritizing safety and well-being of our students. Behind closed doors, they quietly and secretly approved to gut safety staff. To my understanding, the reduction of these positions were not discussed publicly, and thus employees and members of the public were not given a chance to speak at any of the board meetings or public discussions. Albemarle County Public Schools have clearly dug their heels in on this issue. They are handling this the same way they handled the drug overdoses at Monticello this past fall. Smoke and mirrors and silence. Thank you for your dedication to covering those issues this past fall, Jerry. This person adds this. Security has been very visible at our school and has been quick to respond to calls for help. We are supposed to have an added police presence next year with the addition of a school resource officer. That is long overdue. It is my understanding that police and security have separate rules and responsibilities, and police are not able to assist staff with certain behavioral or disciplinary matters. I am hoping that others will reach out if they have not done so already. I am not emailing you directly out of fear of retaliation from Albemarle County Public Schools. Sincerely, a continued supporter of your program. So here's what we got in a nutshell, and that was the email that was sent to me over the weekend by an employee of Albemarle County Public Schools, someone who works at Monticello High School. According to this particular individual, and this particular individual is extremely legitimate, 4 of the 6 security officers for the 2026 school year are cut. Now, the positioning, Judah, is the school resource officer is coming back into the hallways. But if we add 1 school resource officer and cut 4 of 6 security officers, is the school, in fact, more secure, yes or no? Probably not. Another interesting dynamic is the school resource officer has limitations, according to this Monticello employee, compared to what the security officers can do and how they can de-escalate problems at the high school. So this particular individual has asked us to use our platform to get the word out that, goodness gracious, security officers are being cut here and no one knows about it. What do you make of some of this, Judah?
It's a shame we keep seeing across so many different sectors, UVA, Charlottesville schools, that people are making decisions that perhaps should be given a little more consideration and should certainly be brought before the people that those decisions affect.
I agree. We're about to talk about on the show how the University of Virginia did an investigation of cheating at Darden that was so rampant that they did not want to release the investigation. They kept it under wraps.
Yeah.
We're going to talk on today's show how the investigative report for the alleged white-collar racketeering and significant corruption with UVA Health, that report was kept under wraps.
Yeah.
We've talked on this show that the investigative report for the triple murder at UVA was heavily redacted to the point where a mom of one of the fallen football players said, I just want to know what happened to my son, and this report tells me nothing. Mm-hmm. Taking the average, the everyday taxpayer or homeowner or voter or community participant, us, me and you, Judah, you, the viewers and listeners, we're often taken for granted with clandestine communication. Mm-hmm. We are not dumb. We see what's happening before our eyes. And if a school resource officer is positioned in Monticello High School, but 4 of the 6 security officers are removed, is the school in fact more secure?
Right.
And if you're going to smoke and mirror it, which is the commentary the viewer and the employee of Monticello High School said, they're smoke and mirroring this. They're touting SRO coming to Monticello High School.
Right.
But what they're not really telling us is they're cutting 4 of the 6 security officers. So they're saying the school, in fact, is less safe. Mm-hmm. But the positioning, the smoke and mirrors, is SROs, SROs, SROs. We're trying to do well by kids. Perfect example of the teacher union, if you want to get that lower third on screen. Okay? Is the Charlottesville City Public Schools teacher union doing best for students? The president of the union talks to media, the Daily Progress, and says, if we don't get what we want from UVA, the Federal Executive Institute, we're going to say, UVA, you can't place your students in our classrooms anymore. I've covered this pretty well last week. Mm-hmm. The teacher union doesn't have the right to make those threats. That decision should be coming from the superintendent's office or the school board.
Yeah.
Secondly, how can politics or activism sway a teachers union decision-making and what's best for the union as a collective and teacher and students as a whole? What's best for the union as a collective is to have these university students there to help. Mm-hmm. What's best for the students as a whole is to have these UVA students there to help. It improves the student-teacher ratio, having another teacher in the classroom.
Yeah.
And having activism and politics influence decision-making or cause a point of negotiation leverage is not right. And now the president of the teacher union finds herself in a firestorm because I've been told the teacher union is splintering over this. There's some that say, okay, we're not going to allow the kids in here. But others are saying those UVA students will just go to another school system.
Yeah.
They'll go to private schools. They'll go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And other teachers have emailed us and said, on top of that, we want to have this relationship with UVA for hiring purposes.
Yeah. 100%. It's kind of crazy, and wasn't the teachers union just approved within the last year? It's strange that they're already having issues, but 100% I don't work in a school, but it would seem to be common sense that you would want the help of those teachers' aides, teacher students, and literally, not literally, but it's the exact meaning of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Right. Look at how politics and activism and a disregard of transparency is impacting schools here. Mm-hmm. We got a school board in Albemarle County who's not being straightforward with parents and their employees about security at Monticello.
Yeah.
We have a teachers union in Charlottesville that's having their decision making influenced by activism and politics. Transparency lacking. Mm-hmm. Doing what's right lacking. Jessica Winfield Lilly is watching the program. She said, and even with 6 security officers, they could not handle the drug overdoses this past fall. Vanessa Parkhill is watching the program. Logan Wells Clalo, Martha Freeman, Rainey O'Neill, Sue Caldwell watching the program. If you're a parent of Albemarle County Public Schools, you should ask this question of school board or this question of your principal, okay? Yes, school resource officers are coming, but if we're cutting the security officers at a greater clip than one school resource officer is coming in, is the school in fact more safe?
Yeah.
I say this all the time on the show. The top 3 responsibilities for a school, number 1 is keep the kids safe. That's number 1. You can't learn and teach the kids if the kids aren't safe. Mm-hmm. Get the kids to school on time and get them home on time, and then you talk about the learning and educating the kids. But if you're cutting security and you're smoke and mirroring it by saying, oh, we're getting an SRO, the school's not really safer.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, viewers and listeners? Put them in the feed. We'll relay them live on air. Conan Owen watching the program. The owner of the local Sir Speedy. What decision has any teachers union made that puts kids first? Not COVID, not distance learning, and certainly not this. The teachers union of Charlottesville Public Schools, they were leading the charge of keeping kids learning remotely during COVID and the pandemic. In that Reddit thread, there was one poster that made this comment, and I'll paraphrase for him. The teacher union, leadership of the teacher union, is single-handedly driving an uptick of private school enrollment. And they pointed to the teacher union insisting that kids stay home for learning during the pandemic while private schools were opening. Now they're creating this narrative of we don't want UVA students to log classroom hours on their way to degree in our halls and in our classrooms because UVA did wrong by us with the Federal Executive Institute. Look, the FEI building, UVA getting it, that was a crapshoot. That's not tied to UVA.
Right.
And if UVA hadn't have gotten it, it could have gone to somebody not tied to Charlottesville Public Schools, Charlottesville City, or Albemarle. It could have gone to something completely different.
It's a false chain of logic to say that that if UVA wasn't in the mix, it would have automatically gone to Charlottesville City Schools.
Absolutely.
Because we just don't know that.
We don't know that. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Bartha, thank you for sharing the show. We appreciate you. Lisa Costello says this. Is that fair to the individual UVA student who's coming to give their all to Charlottesville students? Is this fair to city students who desperately need the enthusiasm student teachers from UVA bring to the classroom, things I learn in kindergarten do not let Fed's decision-making impact students' access to learning professionals they need. Exactly.
Yeah.
100% right, Lisa. Well said. But what you're seeing, and I'm going to call a spade here, okay? I'm going to call a spade. The president of the teacher union, her husband is the co-chair of Livable Charlottesville. These are two of the biggest activists in the city. Two of the biggest activists in the city. Housing activists, anti-UVA activists, anti-single family zoning activists, activists in every capacity. Now activists are doing their best to infiltrate Albemarle County. You are seeing the politics infiltrate a teacher union. And it's making the teacher union look poor for the community. That's calling a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And I would encourage Superintendent Gurley and the school board to get a hold of this.
No doubt.
Because the longer it goes on and the longer this narrative continues, the worse it looks for the schools.
And more parents are going to see that, or at least see the appearance that the schools are not doing what's best for their children.
Exactly. If you're a parent, don't you want a fourth year or fifth year UVA student teaching your kids extra hands on deck?
Yeah.
The parents. So if you're watching this show and you're parents of kids in city or county schools, I'll move on to the next topic. And when I do, you ask this question. How are you keeping my kids safe at Monticello High School if 4 of the 6 security officers, 4 of them are being cut and being replaced by 1 school resource officer? How are you keeping my kids safe? And if you're a parent of a city public school student, you should ask this question. How are you leveraging free set of teaching hands for a real estate transaction that you have 0 chance of getting? You're only hurting my son or daughter.
Yeah.
Vanessa Parkhill in Earlysville. Security could cover a variety of things, not just SROs. To some people, mental health staff, i.e. counselors and possibly staff formerly labeled as DEI related, would come under the umbrella of student safety. Business people aren't the only ones who get creative with their budgets. Well, did you guys see the VCU headline? Virginia Commonwealth University is closely following the Trump order of no more DEI, and VCU's completely falling in line. Very curious to see how the University of Virginia responds with this. All right, next headline. What do we got? If you can put that lower third on screen. What is it?
Well, let's see. We've got Eljo's.
This is sad. This is a sad one. I'll get to John's comment here before we get to Eljo's. John Blair says, I think a lot of this union issue goes back to the very beginning of the American labor movement. From the 1880s to the 1910s, there was a labor movement that was very political and activist, most notably the Wobblies. But Samuel Gompers led the American Federation of Labor and said unions should only focus on wages and working conditions, no politics or activism. Gompers' vision won out. CVille seems to be re-litigating this issue. The teacher union has gotten, and it took so much for the teacher union to get to this point. It took so much work and effort for the teacher union to get to this point. And we're in the second inning, and in the second inning, this organization that worked so hard to get to this point is utilizing decision-making or a process of decisions that is not best for kids. And it's a bad look. It's a bad look. The next headline, Eljo's traditional clothes is closing, the city is certainly losing an icon here.
Yeah.
There was a deal in place to keep Eljo's alive. Miles Thurston, friend of the program, Trent Thurston, father, son, run Eljo's. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that business broker transaction fell through, and Eljo's is choosing to close. To say that this is an icon is an understatement. There's few businesses that have withstood the test of time like Eljo's traditional close. Mm-hmm. Initially, first on the UVA corner. We're talking a business that is 75 years old. Mm-hmm. 75 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Starts on the corner, now at the shops of Millmont. How many businesses can you think of that are 75 years old here?
Fewer.
Don't we have a list of the oldest businesses in Charlottesville?
I believe we do.
Let's see if I can find it. We put a list together. I think you even included some churches. The oldest and longest running businesses. Timberlake's Drugstore was founded in 1890. I found the
That's
restaurant
amazing.
one. See if you can find the business one. Okay, you have a business one too. I found the restaurant one. Timberlake's Drugstore was founded in 1890. The Virginian Restaurant founded in 1923. Mickey Tavern founded in 1928. Mickey Tavern's for sale right now.
Yeah.
Riverside Lunch founded in 1935. Jack and Jill's in 1944. The Corner Restaurant, the Templetons owned that, founded in 1950. The Nook in 1951. The White Spot in 1953. Foods of All Nations, 1955. The Mill Room at Borsa in 1964. Aberdeen Barn, 1965. The IVN, 1973. Integral Yoga, 1975. C&O Restaurant, 1976. Blue Moon Diner closed, 1979. Miller's Downtown, 1981. Mel's Cafe, 1984. Do you have the business one in totality?
Yeah.
What are the 5 oldest businesses there?
5 oldest, we've got the UVA Hospital, founded in 1828. McGuire Woods LLP, founded in 1834. Riverview Cemetery Company, founded in 1892. Better Living Building Supply was founded in 1893. And Martin Hardware, 1893 as well.
So losing Eljo's of 75 years is a pretty significant loss, and we need to highlight what's happened over the last 12 months. Okay? You've seen Lumpkins close in Scottsville. You've seen Blue Moon Diner close. You've seen Mel's Cafe close. Mm-hmm. You've seen Moose's by the Creek close. You're seeing Eljo's close. Mickey Tavern's for sale. You've seen a lot of institutional knowledge close. Okay? You still obviously have some icons in place. Bodo's, Ragged Mountain Running Shop come to mind. Yeah. Martin's Hardware, like Judah mentioned. But the small merchant, the locally owned brand and business, is facing so much challenge and difficulty right now.
Yeah, I think the only two local men's clothing stores left are both on the downtown mall.
And are both open?
I couldn't tell you.
I thought one of them closed. I know there were 2 at one time. I thought one of them closed. I highlighted the impact of how Charlottesville changed during COVID. And I've highlighted on the show, prior to the pandemic, this shop local, support local commitment was as strong as I've ever seen it in Charlottesville. Then COVID hit, and hybrid remote work and an influx of new people, an uptick in population in Charlottesville, really watered down the commitment to shop local, and it's unfortunate. Because you had a lot of folks move here. That's when you start seeing real estate spike. We'll be able to point to the pandemic and say, this was one of those times where Charlottesville significantly changed. COVID. Because you had an uptick in population, a very wealthy uptick in population come to Charlottesville. That drew up the cost of living. That really throttled inventory. that diminished the commitment to shop local, support local, because there wasn't as much institutional participation, longevity participation in this community. It was new blood here. We'll point to that 2-year period, COVID, and say, this is a period that Charlottesville really changed. Young men's shop, Philip Dow said, closed a long time ago, Judah.
What's that?
He said the young men's shop closed a long time ago.
The men and boys shop?
He says the young men's shop.
Oh.
Closed a long time ago. Philip Dow in Scottsville. Thank you, Philip. Sad to see Eljo's close.
No doubt.
And another thing that's interesting is what's going to replace that in the Millmont shops? Think about it. I believe David Sloan is one of the co-owners of the Millmont shops behind Barracks Road Shopping Center. David Sloan had the famous Sloan's Restaurant there. It went Sloan's Restaurant, Millmont Grill, now it's Sedona Tap House.
Mm-hmm.
Believe David Sloan is a co-owner of the Millmont shops, the shopping center in totality. Filling a spot that large where Eljo's is going to be difficult to do. Find me a retailer that wants to jump in and take a footprint that large on a lease that's long with rents that are fairly high. It's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa Parkhill says, that split in philosophy with CVille teachers highlights why Virginia needs to remain a tight right-to-work state. That's something that's coming up in the governor's race this year with Winsome Earl Sears and Spanberger. What's your next headline? What other local businesses, Philip and Lisa and Ansari and Vanessa and Conan, viewers and listeners, are we missing? What other local institutions or local icons have closed in the last 12 months? I'll rattle some of these off, Judah. In fact, I'll create a notepad here. We should put this list together. I think it would surprise some people how many. Blue Moon Diner, Moose's, Eljo's, Mel's Cafe, Lumpkins. What other ones am I missing, viewers and listeners, that have closed? We should put that together and see if we can come up with a pretty comprehensive list tomorrow for the viewers and listeners. I think it would surprise a lot of folks.
No doubt.
Jeremy Wilson's watching in Tennessee. He says Tennessee is a right-to-work state. Jeremy, we love when you watch the show. Next headline, what do you got?
Next we have, is the honor system at UVA purely symbolic?
This one is, how is this not getting more attention? The Jefferson Council is doing a good job. They're pointing out aspects of the University of Virginia that concern them. Heard from some of the Jefferson Council leadership team over the weekend. The I Love CVille Show made it into the Jefferson Council newsletter. Our show did. And they point out, and you can set the table on this one, that cheating is so rampant at the Darden School.
Yeah.
That the University of Virginia did an investigation into how bad the cheating was, found it was even worse than they anticipated, and is unwilling to release the report of how rampant cheating is at Darden for fear of what it could do to Darden's reputation, its rankings in this, and its place in all these rankings, national rankings. I mean, it's now gotten to the point where folks are saying that the honor code is just pomp and circumstance and window dressing.
Yeah. The Jefferson Council tried to find information on the report from UVA, but UVA refused to. They say the university has no records responsive to your request, and since the Jefferson Council does not know the name of the report, they can't really go any further with it. And talking with students at UVA, they found that most students seem to know exactly what's going on, and that nobody's doing anything about it. In fact, let's see. There's some suggestions that the biology department is perfectly aware of the cheating. Instead of reporting students to the honor council, that's a process that gets the professors embroiled in a time-consuming adjudication process. They just decided to change the way they deliver tests. They've added paper scantrons to the biology department because they believe that everyone cheats. And, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, in that case, if everybody's cheating, you can't get rid of all of your students. Right?
Here's another thing. Deep Throat, I'm getting to your comments next. Deep Throat's got some good comments here.
Some people also see it as foolish. Not so much cheating as some of the I guess the processes around things, talking about the difference between going to a professor and begging for special hints, which apparently at UVA is allowed and encouraged, versus asking other students for special hints.
Asking for special hints? What is that? Can I have the answer? Is that what that means?
I don't know. Apparently going to a teacher and asking for special hints, maybe just a way of giving you foreknowledge of the type of test, the type of questions that will be asked on a test. I honestly don't know, but not everybody sees this the same way.
Yeah. There's got to be a standard. Is the standard for Darden, is the challenge for Darden getting in, and then once you're in, you coast to the degree? Is that what it is? Getting through the application process and being accepted, is that the standard? And then once you're in, you coast and you just get a degree? Or is the standard get into Darden and then have to continue to work hard to get a degree? I would like to, I mean, we have under Jim Ryan's administration some very glaring red flags here. A triple murder and a redacted report, pepper sprayed students at a protest, and then the state police militarized to break up the protest. The scandal at UVA Health, I'm hearing Craig Kent paid millions of dollars to walk away. Millions to walk away.
I'm a bit flabbergasted that the Board of Visitors is as big a part of that. With only, two members left over from McAuliffe's appointees, you would think that
Ralph Northrum,
by and large, the Board of Visitors would be, I don't know about antagonistic to Jim Ryan, but perhaps not as supportive as the previous group of BOV members was.
July, Youngkin has the entire board appointed. Deep Throat from a previous topic. Can I just say that the instant and firm pushback Shannon Gillikin got was very heartening. People could see right through her. This is an instance of cosplay Norma Ray using her union position to push her husband's activist agenda.
Did he say cosplay Norma Ray?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He says her husband is always feuding with UVA. I wonder if dues-paying members of CAE, which is the teacher union, will tolerate their leader using the union for her family's own activist battles. And then he says, to your point about private schools in city, 30% of grade 1 to 4 kids in the city go to private school. In 2010, it was 11%.
Wow.
30% of grades 1 to 4 are private school. Good gosh. Here's what I saw with the Reddit thread on the teacher union. Reddit, the forum, especially the Charlottesville Reddit, is very left-leaning.
Yeah.
It's very liberal. And even the left-leaning liberal Charlottesville Reddit forum saw through what the president of the teachers union was doing and shamed her. Even the Reddit forum, Judah, said this was a mistake and this was a bad look. That puts it in perspective. And another thing that puts it in perspective, even the Reddit forum is going after Jim Ryan. Even the meme accounts are going after Jim Ryan. So it's not just the conservatives, it's activists that are now going after the school president. Unbelievable. Philip Dow says the Jew drop-in Scottsville should be on that list as well. It closed. Well-known name with the Waltons. The name is still privately owned, however. And from an honor system at UVA, that story needs to get some more momentum.
No doubt.
Because if it's that rampant that UVA won't release the report, what is the degree worth?
Mm-hmm. It seems honor isn't much more than a marketing ploy used to entice students to partake in quote-unquote student self-governance, which after recent events is particularly a sham, and designate those in honor a certain social status not enjoyed by all members of the UVA community. And it goes on to say that the administration has made this issue even more profound by forcing students to choose a graded option, or CRNC, which stands for credit, no credit. They're essentially gambling with their grades. This places an additional incentive to cheat, which isn't normally present. Can we really expect UVA students to be above the fray and refrain from cheating when their GPA is on the line? No, especially if they feel others are engaging in the practice. Goes on to say that if students are unwilling to turn in offenders and faculty reformats tests in lieu of prosecuting cheaters, then the community of trust does not seem to be working as advertised. Yes. I don't know if that's is that a sign of the times? Is that a sign of an expanding university? Is it going to get to a point where there are so many students that it's just not economical to keep a too close an eye on these things, or is it something that is worth holding on to?
This comment comes in, great stuff from Judah. This comment comes in from a concerned mom. Speaking of Albemarle County Public Schools in Monticello, she says, "I need anonymity on this one, but there's still lots of drugs still floating around Monticello High School, although the kids aren't being caught with them until they get home. Also, there's cases of suicidal idealization that thankfully have been caught before the unthinkable happened. Wow. Removing officers certainly isn't going to help this situation."
I'd like to understand what she means by the drugs aren't getting caught until the kids get home. Does that mean
parents are catching them?
Does that mean the parents are catching them, or does that mean that whoever knows that it's going on is dealing with it outside of school grounds?
I would imagine it's the parents catching them. And then this comment comes in via Twitter from Ginny Who. "If you can use DEI to get into Darden and then coast along to a degree, geez Louise." I heard from a father over the weekend who's got a kid entering high school that some colleges and universities are punishing or the white male student that graduates from a private school is being punished or deprioritized by a lot of colleges and universities now. That if it's a white male student graduating from a private school, that student, if on an equal plane with a non-white male student from a public school, the white male private student from the private school gets knocked down a peg in the admissions process. Think about that.
Yeah. I believe that's called racism.
Carol Thorpe says, and she's absolutely right, please never leave the Morgan Benninger, Ziana Bryant scandal off of your Jim Ryan tenure list. It's easily top 5. Absolutely, Carol Thorpe. 100%. 100% that's top 5.
No doubt.
I mean, number 1 is the triple murder. Number 2 is the UVA health scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Is number 3 militarizing the state police? Number 4, is it Morgan Benninger, Ziana Bryant?
I think it rates pretty highly, especially the lack of empathy from the university and the refusal to fix an injustice.
And you rarely see, and I'm sorry, we did this wrong. Vanessa Parkhill says, spot on, Ginny Who, spot on. You rarely see from them, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I made a mistake here.
That goes so far.
It goes so far. Why do you not see an I'm sorry? He did offer a mea culpa to the anonymous 128, Jim Ryan, when he said, my initial response to you, where I basically called you guys whiny crybabies, the malcontents that any organization has, was wrong. But outside of that, where are the mea culpas?
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol Thorpe. You're 100% right. Next topic. What do you got? Juandiego Wade?
Juandiego Wade and Red Carpet Inn.
All right. You set this. Let's spend 30 seconds on the Red Carpet Inn.
Red Carpet Inn. This was on what's it called? It's back behind the Waffle House on 29. Premier Circle. That's what it's called. They're building a new residence. This is from the same company, SupportWorks Housing, that built a 60-unit apartment complex at Crossings at 4th and Preston, and they are creating another place, single room occupancy. They're redeveloping the Red Carpet Inn off Premier Circle in 3 phases, and this is going to provide 80 apartments, 62 of which will be reserved for unhoused individuals, with the rest available for people with incomes less than 60% of area median income, which shows that at least they're trying to get that down from what seems to be the norm of 80%,
yeah,
which is not very affordable, I would think. For
80% of area median income is right at $100,000.
Yeah.
So 60% of 125,800, you're talking 76K a household. Yeah,
it's still pretty high for single occupancy.
More multifamily housing coming on.
This is these are single room occupancy places, so it's not really going to be
not specific, not quite apartments, but still a lot of stock coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that this is 75% for unhoused individuals. It's almost akin to what you've talked about, putting a campus out in Albemarle.
They have to do it in Albemarle. There's no place to do it in the city.
Yeah.
The city should do a joint venture with Albemarle County and pull taxpayer dollars. You can ask the taxpayers for this. We want to build a campus where the houseless population, which is roughly 250 people, can learn, can live, can shower, has access to computers, resume building, laundry facilities, job training, interview training. If you want to participate in this campus, you have to be clean, drinking and drugs wise. You have to agree to testing on a bus route, urban ring. There's nowhere in Charlottesville for this.
Right.
You do it on Cherry Avenue at the Salvation Army. What's ever materialized with that? What's going on with that? Charlottesville should JV with Albemarle County and do it that way.
No doubt.
All right, last item out of the notebook is let's give Juandiego Wade some props. The man's retired after a number of years of commitment to Albemarle County professionally. Juandiego Wade now focused on his second term with Charlottesville City Council.
Mm-hmm.
Currently the mayor, anybody you run into, people like Juandiego Wade.
I mean, he's got an impressive list of, he's involved with Ready Kids, Charlottesville Parks and Rec,
The school board.
Virginia School Boards Association, Charlottesville Police Foundation, 100 Black Men of Central Virginia, United Way of Greater Charlottesville, Charlottesville Albemarle Technical Education Center, and I believe there are probably more. So, you know, Juandiego Wade has put a lot of his time and sweat equity into helping out Charlottesville and Albemarle County.
Absolutely. May not always agree with Juandiego Wade's politics, but you cannot doubt his commitment.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so now retired Juandiego Wade, he is seeking a second term on council. John Blair leaves this comment: take a look at last week's New York Magazine. They had an article on artificial intelligence and how college professors nationwide are retiring because cheating is so rampant across America. What people do not realize is this: the future is going to be tilted to the top 5 to 10% of kids. It will make today look like a socialist paradise. The kids who don't cheat and are smart are going to be few and far between. They're going to own the future like nothing this country's seen before.
Yeah. No doubt.
I said, I think it was on last week's show, that AI and technology are going to cannibalize a large portion of jobs. A large portion of jobs. And the survivors in this Darwinistic professional world we're about to enter are going to be the ones that can provide value that technology and AI cannot do. Those will be your deal makers, your master networkers, people who can source and find money for other people in deals, the people who have the ability to see a few steps ahead and hedge risk. But a large portion of the workforce is going to be completely replaced by what's coming. And it's not just going to be frontline folks at a McDonald's that are going to be replaced here, folks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's the Monday edition of the show. Judah Wickhauer, Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.